Hi, welcome to the New York Parrot Literary Corner. I'm Dustin Pickering, your host, and today we have Adriana-Babiak and Vazquez. They are PhD in literary studies, and they are excellent poets, and both are husband and wife team. And so we're going to talk with them a little bit about leadership studies as well as poetry and literature. And so I'm glad you guys came on the program. So hopefully we'll have a great talk, and I will appreciate you guys coming on. So I'm hoping you're having an excellent evening tonight and everything's going well for you.
We're running into IT problems, the bane of everyone's existence now that
right.
We're so dependent during the pandemic on Zoom and other virtual.
Absolutely. And yeah, we had some trouble on our end as well. So it's like, it's just coming on strong. I think the Russians are after us or somebody's after us right now. So I'm just, just to kind of introduce yourselves a little bit. Tell our audience a little bit about your doctoral work and what was the research process like for your dissertation?
Well, I'll start. It was interesting because we did it together. We worked on our PhDs together, which ordinarily people would think, are you crazy? You're going to kill each other by the end of it. But we managed to survive
Right.
without any major violence. But mine was focused on, I have an epidemiology background and public health. So mine was focused on well-being and work-life balance. Surprisingly, very apropos for these days. And how leadership and management affects that kind of a relationship, not only for the follower but also for the leader. So that's what I did mine on.
Yeah, I just to kind of correct a little bit your pronunciation there in the names. Her name is Adriana-Babiak Vazquez, and my own name is Luis Vazquez.
Okay.
Now, in regards to your question, I will say the reasons why I joined the PhD program in leadership studies are similar to Adriana's. To start looking into that relationship between those that occupy positions of leadership, those who are entrusted with the mission of leading others, and how they relate to the people that they are leading. That was an interest of mine after quite a few years of professional life as an NASA engineer, and that was an aspect of work that I was interested in learning a little bit more about. And even after having completed the PhD, I still can't claim to be, I don't think either one of us can claim to be a total expert that we already know everything there is to know. We don't need to learn anything else. I don't think that's the case at all, but at least we know a little bit more than we did before.
Yeah, I think that's sometimes when you learn and you gain in knowledge, you actually realize just how limited that knowledge can be. And it's definitely powerful when you're studying something in depth. You see this expanse before you. It's like outer space, and speaking of it's like you don't know anything about what's going on out there, really that far out there. So yeah, it's definitely very interesting. And I'm curious, when you're learning and you're doing your research, did you come across any knowledge or any new revelations that were counterintuitive to you, or did you discover anything that radically altered your perspective beforehand?
I wouldn't say no. I didn't, that I was not expecting as far as radical, but I will say this, that it's odd. People just get, we are constantly being asked this, how did you wind up from leadership, from engineering, or from biology, or from poetry? What in the world? What are you all thinking? And for us, the one thing that, or at least for me, that this source of research led me to understand that the world is a very small place, and our fields of concentrations it might seem like it's very different, but they're very similar. This notion of people and the way they respond, and being in touch with their emotions through, for example, through our poetry or other genres of text. It's also very similar to when you're working with leadership and when you're working in epidemiology. It's just this notion that it's people at the heart of it, and their emotions and how those are expressed or not, and how that's affecting their emotional and well, and like I said, and well-being. And now you can very clearly see the relationship between people trying to get in touch with those emotions and keeping themselves healthy. So I think I know a lot of people do journal therapy and write to kind of get that negative feelings out, and kind of get a better sense of what's going on in their lives. And I think for me, it just seemed like all these little cubby holes that I might have initially started with when I started this research is just become one large box, and everything goes in it. And how do I work where I can bring in as many of these different aspects into my research and into my work?
And I would add to that what she was just talking about, bringing that kind of perspective into a profession like mine as an engineer, where people tend to underestimate those personal relationships, because the notion of technical competence is emphasized to such a point that is also almost to the detriment of all the things that make us humans. And that's why we see people that in my field that are so used to strictly the technical, the way things work. But then they get promoted to positions of management when all of a sudden they see themselves with the responsibility of having to lead people. So which is no longer a matter of designing a bridge, building a spacecraft. No, now you're dealing with people which are far more complex in many ways, like Adriana was pointing out. And that's really the challenge for people like me, for professionals that are so used to working on the artificial, on the external, on what is outside of them, to now understand, if I'm going to lead these people, if I'm going to motivate them to be better employees, better engineers, I need to appeal to them as people. These are not things that I can build or I can design to my own satisfaction. I have to, this is it. This is what is given to me. And that's why, and that's the challenge, how to teach these people that when you become responsible for others, now you're talking about emotions, you're talking about desires, you're talking about aspirations and things like that cannot be explained in technical terms.
And I think poetry does that. It helps us
absolutely
focus on that, so that then it's easier for us to then take that next step in our other areas of professional work.
Kind of leads into one of my other questions I had, is what can a study of leadership offer the business world?
Yeah, I think what it offers to the business world is a better motivated, more enthusiastic workforce. That now they are contributing, not just because they're getting a paycheck, although of course that's still important, but now they feel that they are part of what they're doing, or what they're part of what they're creating. They're part of a mission. something to be proud of, because they know is something good, it's something that helps people. And they get that sense from leaders who know how to lead.
Right.
Yeah, and one of the things that right now we're all seeing with the pandemic is this notion of change. And we've all been going through that long before the pandemic. Just the times we're living in are constantly. We were just talking. We started this whole interview with talking about IT and its
Right.
multiple faceted problems that we all have to deal with. So it's just constant change and updates and upgrades and so now with the pandemic, it's like even more very quickly. Everybody had to just get. We don't care what generation you're in. We don't care how comfortable you feel with it. You're all in this boat, and you're all going to have to change quickly and adapt.
Right.
So I think as good leaders, you also learn like Lise was saying, this notion of buying in, of saying, okay, we're all in this together. Let's see let's get everybody's input. Let's see what's working, what isn't. Let's adapt and be flexible. And that, is a difficult thing for people, I think. But we've all grown, I think, as a nation. I think it's a blessing, really. I mean, if we had to go through this, I'm glad we went through one that was, not Ebola or not something really, but still a very serious. Obviously, a lot of people, have lost loved ones and friends, and all of us have, and as well. And so I think leadership just kind of dovetails right in, along with good followership.
Absolutely. I think that this is bringing the world together in ways that we've talked a lot about this on the program. Of the poetry community itself has grown globally, because now we can connect in so many ways, and we're learning to connect in different ways. And I think that's definitely something that's a positive note. I think we'll be much better off, as you said, after this is, been, after we liquidate this problem, or at least minimize it. I think we'll definitely go forward and be a lot better off. And many people will have skills now that maybe they didn't have before, as you note, So that's a fascinating aspect to this crisis that we've experienced in the last couple of years. So I think that's a good note to make. And I'm curious, how once you actually earned your PhD, how did that feel? How did you feel it coming out of that? I mean, was it a relief, or was it like, did you feel euphoric maybe, or?
Yeah, a little bit of all of that. Yes, a relief, because you finally, you're no longer going to have to be working, preparing for exams or faculty defenses. You don't. You're done. You're finished. You finish all of that. So therefore, you can leave it. You can leave that behind to a point, because now it, of course, becomes a part of how you're going to use that PhD, and using that PhD involves continuing to do a lot of that. But at least immediately right after you walk out of the stage, at least initially, you don't worry about that for a while. You just have the sense that I finally got this. I finally finished this. So as to what will come later, as to what follows that's going to be a little bit later. So time will come to worry about it. But for now, I just graduated. I have my diploma in my hand, and that's all I care about for the moment, at least.
Well, you were gracious enough to attend our defense, our dissertation defense, and you
Very
saw
interesting.
it was
interesting.
Okay, big relief.
Yeah. A lot of work, and it's finally paying off.
That's right. That's right.
A lot of effort. I mean, it's a lot of research and a lot of, I guess, reading and doing studies with other people and stuff, and all kinds of all kinds of stuff that goes into it. And it's a very heavy. I guess as I kind of joked with you guys that you've joined the 1%.
That's right.
So
But
it's interesting that I mean, coming back to the leadership studies and so forth. Have you ever met, like, do you have any really brilliant colleagues and just in general that you've met that have encouraged you and made you kind of think outside your box a little bit?
Well, our professors are constantly, it's ongoing collaborations. Sometimes you go back and you touch base with them, or they'll ask you about. And right now with the pandemic, certainly there's discussions that we've had with others that are getting us to think, okay, and how is this going to be? What kinds of studies can we design that we can get these best lessons learned? I think there's some great experts in leadership. We really always like to read the Harvard Business Review because they have a lot of these real experts have been at it for 30 years, 40 years, and they wrote the book literally. And and they there's also exercises that you can take, and also you can maybe conduct small talks with at work or with other colleagues, and use some of these tools that they provide to learn new skills. So it's a constant learning by all means.
Absolutely. So I don't know if you guys have a poem to read. I mentioned that earlier. If you have something to read, if you feel free, we have a little space to read something.
I have it started, you mentioned how did it feel after I finished the PhD. In my case, I found myself having a lot of time all of a sudden. So it was like, and of course you quickly fill it up. You volunteer to go and lead this and lead that. And so before you know it, it's gone. But one of the things I started getting more into was philately or stamp collecting, which I used to collect when I was younger. And then of course, you graduate from high school and or you discover boys in high school, and then you go on to college, and there's just other things that kind of fill your time. But Luis actually encouraged me to get back into it, and because I had time. And so the Johnson Space Center Stamp Club, they've been around since the maybe late 50s, early 60s, since JSC came around. And so they're really cool fellows there. And so I've been writing poems or ekphrastic poetry that focuses on stamps. So I don't know if you can see.
Oh wow, I like that.
If you can see it here, then they can see it.
Okay, sorry. There you go.
There you
go. So this one, I don't know if you can. There.
Yeah, it's a Picasso.
Better. Yeah. So this is the I always mispronounce it. Guernica.
Yeah, Guernica, I think.
Okay. So Guernica. It's the big battle. Where it really was a massacre of in Spain, and so it was just heartbreaking. All these needless deaths. Really, the Germans were kind of trying out their new equipment, their new planes and weapons and what have you. And
they were trying it by bombing the city of Guernica in Spain during the Spanish Civil War.
That's right. Right. So Picasso, for example, is a work of art that this huge mural essentially that he painted. And so this stamp, for example, is based off of that. And I don't know if you started to write a poem about that, but just to give you an idea of how easily you can go from a history subject or a topic. This one is on, and I do have a poem on this one ready to go. The other ones we're still working on. But this one is, I don't know if you can see, but it's the landing of Christopher Columbus's party in Puerto Rico. And
Wow.
so I wrote this one just to give you an idea. And one of the things that you can have people fake stamps, and so they're, they kind of redraw them and then try to sell them for a lot of money when they're expensive stamps. So this one, for example, is it's a rare stamp. So there's a whole series of points that they say, okay, if it's got this, then it's an original. If not, then you've got a fake. So this is a very quick poem, and it's in a haiku format, several verses, and basically talking about that process. Sorry. Okay, it's called Anticipation. She stalks her mailman, spies him as he turns Fox Lane. Her street is 2 down. Pace, stop, turn, repeat. He should drop off the mail soon, her eBay winnings. The mail is here. Puerto Rico's first landing by Columbus. Real? She brings the stamp in, scans for authenticity, checks edibles. Fake? The medallion, check. 15 left, check. Button shirt, hand touching boat. No, and that's how it finishes. So she finds this one of the checklist of things. It's like the hand's supposed to touch the boat, and when she sees it with her, nope, it's not touching the boat. It's just got to fit. And she just spent, this money. But anyway, so it's just a way to kind of piece together some of these holes of things that I'm into and trying to bring it together. So go ahead, Luis.
This one is entitled The Martians. Dreams hiding beyond the red horizon brought humans here for a second start. A new cradle for a reboot, a second chance. Air is so thin, it won't dare disturb the silence of solitude wrapped in immensity. Peace at last. One Martian morning, 2 men exit the module hatch, jump on the rusted dust, wander towards the nearby dune where they sink to their ankles. Each step becomes heavier. They stop. Gestures ensue. An exchange, it seems, but the silence of the meager air belies its content. One turns and walks away laboriously. The other pulls an object that reflects the light of the far sun and aims at the back of his companion. A sudden burst of gas and debris disturbs the gentle morn. The perpetrator wanders back to the station. The other collapses as he attempts to do the same. And all happens in silence, always in silence. Humans want to be born again in the red cradle, but they are still who they were before, even in silence,
Wow. I think you make a really strong point in that about human nature and, longing to escape, but what are we trying to escape and how and what method are we using? Is it really going to be effective in bringing us peace? I think that was kind of, if I understand the poem, that was basically the general idea you were conveying there. Thanks for sharing those, both of you, both for sharing those poems. And one of my final questions is if you are currently reading or recently have read something that inspires you, or what have you read during the pandemic that has kind of kept you alive and moving? If you could share a few reading, recommendations or anything that you found specifically interesting that you've read recently.
Go ahead.
To be honest, I haven't done all that much reading lately. So
other than journal articles.
Other than journal articles or the news, to keep informed of what's going on out there. But quite frankly, other than those things like that, I haven't really done that much reading lately. So nothing kind of pops to mind as to something I would recommend. I think maybe Adriana has something that she can make reference to.
Well, I was actually, I just got it, so I was trying to look for the title. It's a book on the two women scientists actually who discovered or who put into I guess discovered the technique on splicing DNA, and
Okay.
so that you could do what we were able to do with the messenger RNA with the vaccines.
Right.
And so it's the book is like I said, I just ordered it, and my apologies. And
All right.
so that's the one I was reading, and I will find it and I will.
I think I remember I read an article recently, and I think it was in Financial Times about one of the women that helped pioneer this. And it was a very almost scorned at and laughed at by the general establishment out there, the business establishment. They didn't want to put funds into it. It was too expensive, basically. And they didn't think it would be worth anything. And then now they found that it's very effective with treating with the vaccine, and maybe there'll be more research in the future of with the RNA and the so forth. So maybe we'll see what happens. I mean, they may back out. What's done is done. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, this one I did find it. It's called The Code Breaker, and it's Jennifer Doudna. I'm sure I'm massacring the name. Doudna. Gene editing and the future of the human race. And it's actually her and her counter, or her colleague. It's both of them together that did this. So anyway, the book is about that, the Code Breaker.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Anyway, I'll have to fill you in once I read it. But like I said, I just got it, and I thought, I need to go through it, because I thought, and apparently it's very well written. It's supposed to be very approachable. So
yeah, sort of more like clarity and not so much the jargon and stuff. I like books like that kind of give you a heads up, and you understand what you're reading. You don't have to understand 100,000 terms to really get the idea. So that's
from what I've understood, it's very
very much. It's intended for the general public, not for specialists necessarily.
Walter Isaacson, he's written a lot of other stuff. And then, like you say, what do you do when you're stressed out? I mean, we read, but it's like in our case, you read the latest articles that have come out, in your field, but also we were reading books that are fun, of course, poetry. But we were trying to get the latest one that you all just put out with that just released with Glenn Irby's poems.
Oh yes,
so that'll have to go on our list. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's a wonderful book, by the way. I mean, I if anybody out there is interested in in sort of a memorial and a legacy project, if you're watching this, then I definitely recommend Letters Sent Inland. It's available at hotpoet.org, I believe. And it's a wonderful book. I was one of the editors. I worked on the 4th section, and the process was really interesting. And it was over several months worth of Zoom meetings every week, every couple of weeks, maybe, with Chuck and Kelly and Daniel, and that was really fun to do, and sometimes very stressful. I won't admit, sometimes I'm just like, close the computer, let's move on. I'm tired. I want to go to sleep. But we did a great amount of work on that, and I think Glenn would be honored by it. I hope he would be honored by it. And we did quite a lot of editing and selection process on that. So, do you have any anything you would like, any offer of advice to future writers or to people out there, students, wanting to get into the nitty gritty of study, and what kind of coping mechanisms that may help them, or et cetera. Those kind of words. The words of advice, basically.
I think I'll tell you the truth. For me, it's always, I have to remind myself, and I like to remind people as well, and some of the students and some of the younger guys that are colleagues, that junior colleagues that work with us, that do not be afraid to ask questions.
Mhm.
I think because nowadays we have, quote unquote, answers at our fingertips, via the internet and what have you, that people think, oh, I shouldn't ask questions because I should be able to figure this out on my own, or I can look it up and I figure it out. But there are topics that are difficult that you
Mhm.
can read and you can figure it out. I mean, everyone's very bright, and I'm sure
Mhm.
that's not the problem, but you make more stress, or you cause yourself more stress. You cause yourself losing a lot of time because you don't ask. And do not be afraid. It's okay. And find people that can mentor you. It can be several, it's not one, but
Mhm.
several people that can kind of help you along. And because what we found, at least for some of our friends that were in the program with us, that are just now graduating, but they are graduating, and that's because we never let them quit. And
Mhm.
when you stop asking questions, then you start kind of a tempest in a teapot. You start creating these big problems, and then you just dissuade yourself, like, okay, I can't do this. It's just it's beyond me, and so you stop. And so don't do that. Do yourself a favor. Be
Right.
kind to yourself.
Absolutely.
And what I would say is be curious about the world in general. Don't
Mhm.
just, uh, poems about people you are in love with. Those beautiful poetry can come out of that, but don't just limit yourself to that. Look at all forms of love, even love for strangers.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, about the simple things that happen around you, also about the bigger things that happen about you. I mean,
Mhm.
the poem that I just read is about astronauts on Mars, and
Mhm.
a subject that maybe people at first would say, "What would doesn't sound like a topic for a poem."
Right.
People don't think that you will write a poem about that, and yet I think I came up with a fairly good
Yeah, I think so.
poem on that. So uh, so don't be afraid to broaden your scope of learn about a little bit about everything, or about everything you can learn about, read about different things, and be
Mhm.
curious. And then you can write about, not only about that boyfriend or girlfriend of yours, which is fine,
Mhm.
but you can also write about other things that in many ways are also manifestations of love, of all kinds of love, like I said. So
Right.
you can write about many different things.
Yeah, love surrounds everything. It's
Mhm.
permeating, as they say. It's in everything, and yeah, I like that you mentioned that. Love for the girlfriend or the boyfriend is only one aspect. It's
Mhm.
Mhm.
it's definitely, you can love your cat, you can love your fishing pole, you can be going fishing, and that could be an adventure. You can love petting your cat, and you can all about petting a cat or going fishing, and as long as you're not fishing for your cat, that's fine. But I just want to express my appreciation for your time.
Sure.
It's been wonderful speaking with you, and I'm going to close the show, and I hope that we can we're facing a goal of generating 1 million subscriptions on our YouTube channel.
Oh my
So we're trying
goodness.
really hard to get people to subscribe. So anybody out there who has subscribed or hasn't, if you haven't, go ahead and do that. And if you have, please suggest to others to do so likewise and share our content. And please be, careful out there in this time of this age,
Mhm.
and as well as leave us some comments. I mean, people out there, don't just watch, and just leave us comments if you like what we have to say, or like what someone said, or don't like it, want to ask questions about it. As we said, please do that. Ask the
Mhm.
questions, and our PayPal for our donations is paypal.me/nyparrot. So if anybody has anything to spare, we'd love it. We're trying very hard to continue to improve what we have to offer. This has been the New York Parrot Literary Corner. I'm Dustin Pickering, and I appreciate everybody's time tonight. Thank you again to our subscribers, and
Thank you.
you guys as well. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have an excellent evening, and stay safe.
You too. Take care. Thank you.